None of us like it, and it's also not talked about as much. But it's true, fictional shows like House of the Dragon or its mother show, Game of Thrones, aren't the best known for their diverse casting. And either way, they always make the pledge to do better next time. But do they really? We'll let you be the judge of that. So let's see what they've got to say in their defense. First off, let's compare the casting of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. The fantasy series is based on George R.R. Martin's book, Fire and Blood. So while it's pretty different from the previous show, it's because the realm from the series takes place almost 2 centuries before Game of Thrones. For instance, compared to Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon naturally has a lot more dragons and Targaryens, as well as House Velaryon, which has already fallen by the time the original series takes off. So compared to Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon has a wider range of actors playing the prominent Valyrian family, which is represented in the first 7 episodes of the show by Steve Toussaint as Coryls Velaryon. This might seem small as a standalone, but in comparison to its predecessor, is a pretty big deal. Do you guys agree? Now, what do the showrunners have to say about all this? When TV producers, directors, and showrunners pledge to employ progressive casting, we always take them seriously. But if we're being honest, their intentions almost never materialize. Similarly, after the criticism Game of Thrones faced for its diverse casting or lack thereof, the showrunners at the time assured its viewers that they will do better for the next show. Some fans are also going ahead and saying that the black actors in the show seem to just be there to check a box. But we're going to give the showrunners a chance to explain. So now that the prequel is done and dusted, let's see what they've got to say. The showrunner of House of the Dragon, Ryan Condal, provided a logistical explanation for the show's diversity. Condal discussed the diversity of the cast of the show, claiming that it was never done to tick a box or to be viewed as progressive. He shared just one justification for their casting decisions as the series' varied fan base, which deserved to be represented. Condal also makes use of a well-known justification for diversity in fantasy literature, saying that if we can accept the existence of dragons, shapeshifters, and werewolves, we can believe that everyone in the novel is not white. He also highlights Martin's own views on the Valyrian family's history, saying that George discussed how he had considered making all the Valyrians black. It's just that the idea of black people with silver hair when he set out to write these books always seemed to really resonate with him. Well, we have to agree. That scene was very powerful indeed. Up next, what's the problem then? Well, despite the efforts of showrunners and casting directors, issues and criticism still seem to spike up. Why is that so? Well, it might be because when viewers talk about diversity, they mean more than just casting black actors, whereas most showrunners believe that diversity just means having more people of color on television, or that they could merely cast black performers without ever addressing their race in the show's background. And while we're sad to admit it, Ryan Condal and Miguel Sapochnik, the showrunners of House of the Dragon, appear to have agreed with that. Now let's reflect as to why that was a grave error. It's true that since it's a TV show about dragons and historically, black characters haven't appeared outside of slave or servant positions. With that assumption, the first season of Game of Thrones, Missandei, and Grey Worm spring to mind. But still, with that in mind, when Steve Toussaint was cast as Coryls Velaryon or the Sea Snake, being cast as a major character in positions of power was a pleasant change. Then again, much to viewers' dismay, Condal and Sapochnik didn't end up doing them justice. They used color-conscious casting, the practice of placing people of color in traditionally white roles, and these are the critics' words, not ours, as a diversity checkmark while keeping the show environment colorblind, which means that in the show's world, the race is irrelevant. Next, is it true? While it may be hard to admit, but it's true, House of the Dragon makes no mention of the race or ethnicity of its few black characters in the first season. We only know that House Velaryon is descended from Old Valyria, which indicates that they are extremely close to the Targaryens and frequently wed in order to maintain the bloodline's purity. There's nothing wrong with it. But shouldn't all Valyrians have Afrocentric features given that they are black? Evidently, the casting team didn't agree with that. Adding on to that, the denial that Rhaenyra Targaryen's children are bastards, despite the fact that they have white skin and loose curly black hair, and that their father is a white-haired black man with dreads. Lenore Velaryon is one of the primary plot lines in the first season, but this is also used in the book Fire and Blood as well. The fact that the Velaryons aren't black in the novel, though, makes it at least slightly slightly likely that Rhaenyra and Lenore are related. Now let's highlight some major issues that fans found in the series. The main concern that viewers had was with the show's attempt to pass off 3 clearly white children as black, and make the one black family on the show the focus of a paternity scandal. Not the best move, kids, even if they were to only follow the plot of the book. The issue of Rhaenyra's children's legitimacy, the choice to cast House Velaryon, and afterward Lenore as black required the introduction of race and racial overtones. A white figure shouldn't be portrayed as a person of color and then have their race ignored. It's true that by attempting to diversify, the showrunners did not do a disservice to viewers of color, but we have to say that the lone black family in this series would have largely failed if the showrunners had given color-conscious casting serious thought. Let's see if they do any better with their diverse representation in the following seasons. Coming, let's shed some light on what we know about Season 2. First things first, we need to know when will Season 2 of House of the Dragon air. Now that Season 1 is over, we know there's going to be a break. Although the break may be long and filled with horrors, we're roughly aware when House of the Dragon will return. Here is what is currently known about Season 2. The good news is House of the Dragon has already received a second season renewal from HBO. The bad? The precise date of release is unknown, but we do know when production will begin. The King's Landing will once again come alive when filming begins in spring 2023. Now, given the time it takes to produce a television season of this scope, the Targaryens won't appear again until at least 2024. Until then, we'll simply have to wait and see if HBO sends us any casting or production announcements. Now, while we wait, let's talk about what comes next in Fire and Blood. You've come to the right place if you simply must know what happens after Rhaenyra dons her battle face at the conclusion of Season 1. Since House of the Dragon has so far mainly stayed true to its original material, we've got some confidence that it will do the same after Lucerys' passing. But if you don't want to know what happens in the Dance of the Dragons, look away now, because we're going all in. It's certain that Rhaenyra and Daemon will seek revenge on Alicent and her family, while the Blacks will look for riders for riderless dragons like Vermithor and Seasmoke in an effort to bolster their forces. Daemon will assault Harrenhal while riding a dragon and defeat it without any casualties, dealing a severe blow to the Greens. They really don't hold back, do they? Lastly, where are the rest? This attack occurs in Fire and Blood as Jacaerys and Lucerys are carrying out their assigned tasks. Now that Daemon is being fueled by the sadness of Luke's passing, it is very possible that the attack at Harrenhal will be depicted in the show in a much more violent manner. And the bloodshed will never stop. Why? It's because Daemon's subsequent action in the book is one of the most horrific things that has ever happened in Westerosi history. We're going to leave the rest to your imagination, but we will say this Season 2 of House of the Dragon should be somewhat of a mixture of things. On the one hand, the Starks return. On the other, we'll witness more horrifying child murders. Fun! That's a wrap. Let us know in the comments what you think of the cast of House of the Dragon. Were you happy with the changes or disappointed? Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one!